Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be doing a full review of Cafe Rose by Tom Ford. This is the newer release of Cafe Rose, not the old one in the private blend collection. This one is in a completely different bottle. I don't properly remember the original one. It's been really quite a long time since I smelled it. The memory recall just isn't there. So I can't compare it to however it used to smell. All I can kind of do is review this kind of current iteration of it. So I have been wearing it on skin. This was sent to me by a friend. Thank you very much. And yeah, when I first apply this one, I'm laughing because the word I'm about to use, it smells perfumey. It's the only one. I know that's kind of a vague kind of statement. It's got a very feminine smelling, perfumey kind of pleasant vibe. To be honest, it kind of smells a little bit like every kind of department store, like the air, you know, like the women that work there kind of spray perfumes for people that walk past, and you just kind of get that kind of perfumed air. It's kind of that vibe in the opening. I get this kind of slightly fresher, crisp opening of a watery kind of a rose. For me at least, I get watery, musky rose. That's very, again, perfumey. Smells more on the feminine side, I would say. At no point in this fragrance do I really pick out much coffee. I really tried to kind of search for it. And I'm not sure I get it, to be honest. I get, like I say, this kind of more watery kind of rose accord, lightly kind of perfumed and musky. This very soft light, yeah, I think watery, translucent, soft. It's not particularly beastly or strong, it's quite mild on the skin. There is a sort of a vague sense of something a bit darker as the initial top notes, which again a bit more fresh, watery, rosy, perfumey in the opening. After 20 minutes or so, there is something a little bit darker about the fragrance. But I would be hard pushed to say that I can smell coffee. I'm not sure I really get coffee. But again, something maybe just a little bit darker behind it, I think comes across more like the woods and patchouli kind of vibe, coming through a little bit more, adding a little bit more depth. There is something a little bit, I'm not quite sure if harsh or kind of itchy or scratchy to the nose a little bit. If you smell it too close, it's a little bit unpleasant. It's definitely better in the air. It's a little bit harsh on the skin if you smell it up close. But in the air, I think it's nicer. But yeah, it gets a little bit darker, but again, not really particularly coffee. There's nothing to particularly dislike, but in the same token, there's nothing particularly to love. I think if you collect, you know, niche perfumes in general, this probably will not really do much for you. You know, for whatever reason you might fall in love with it and it might be great for you. So I would say, as always, test it yourself. On my personal opinion or my personal taste, I don't think it's particularly remarkable. It's not brilliant. It doesn't particularly change much. It kind of stays the same throughout the wear of the fragrance. Like I say, maybe a little bit of woods and patchouli in the base. But it doesn't captivate me, it doesn't particularly interest me. It smells more designer level, even though, I mean, I guess the Tom Ford line that it's in is designer, so to speak. It's not in the private blend line where they charge a little bit more and you expect a little bit more of a niche kind of vibe. This is in the more designer range, so it makes sense. But it doesn't strike me as a particularly high quality perfume. It does, again, lean on a little bit more on the feminine for me. I found that there was something in this that reminded me of something a little bit soapy, almost like laundry detergent or maybe shampoo or some kind of a body lotion. I can imagine this maybe in like a scented lotion, like I say, a skin lotion that's like lightly scented with rose. Something along that of like a different kind of beauty product. I can imagine it better fitting in something like that than a perfume for me. As it dries down, there's also something that maybe is vaguely sort of powdery in the air. where you could think maybe like lightly scented rose talc powder or something, just a slight kind of vibe of that when it kind of floats in the air. There's not really much else to describe with the scent. It does feel quite simple. In terms of performance, I would say after 2 hours it's pretty much a skin scent. 4 hours it's very soft, and I would say it tails out around the 7-hour mark on my skin. So the performance is fairly average, I would say. It's not brilliant, but it's not terrible. You'll get a soft sillage and projection in the first hour or two before it becomes a skin scent, and you'll smell it faintly as a skin scent at around the 7-hour mark. In terms of like occasion, when to wear, for me, I would put it in the spring and autumn category, daytime or nighttime, quite versatile. But I can think of a million fragrances, well not a million, but I can think of a lot of fragrances that smell a little bit kind of similar. It doesn't smell unique remotely in the slightest. Again, generally kind of like perfumey that you've smelled a dozen times before in other things. It doesn't wow me, it doesn't give me anything new. It's quite mediocre and a little bit redundant in terms of what is out in the world already. I don't think it brings anything new whatsoever, but it is pleasant. It's not a bad smelling fragrance. It smells nice. That's the best way I can describe it, honestly. I don't really get coffee from this. I get a watery, musky, perfumey kind of light rose with a hint of sort of a woody patchouli kind of base. And yeah, that's it. It reminds me of things that I've smelled before in other designer fragrances. It's not, like I say, not new. So for me, this isn't a particularly interesting release, although it is pleasant and I think quite versatile. And for someone that doesn't have a lot of perfumes, then maybe this would work pretty nicely, you know. But for someone that collects and is more kind of into fragrances, then this probably is going to be a miss for some people. If you tried it, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you soon with another review. Take care, everyone. Bye.
One time he disappeared for 2 or 3 days. When he came back, they asked him where he'd been, and he said, "Oh, just sailing."